But with no further ado, we have one final panel of the afternoon, which is from data chaos to enterprise clarity. So I'm going to reintroduce my partner in crime, Christina Killion, to the stage to welcome our panelists. Bring it home.
Okay, well, now that we've shown you in the product how we're really planning to go from fragmented reporting to true enterprise clarity, I want to bring up some of the experts, some of the folks that are really in this all day, every day, and the kind of impacts that it's had on their business. So without further ado, I'd like to bring up here Vivek Malipatil, the CPO and co-founder of Motorq. Brad Kornmann, the Senior Manager of Sales Planning at Nissan. David Neace, the National Manager of CPO and Courtesy for INFINITI. And Susan Gutierrez, the Rent a Toyota Program Manager for Toyota. All right, so Brad, I think I'm going to start with you here because, I mean, you were one of our first OEMs to really get into our reporting and dashboards suite that we rolled out. But you were also, the program had a lot of firsts when we entered our partnership. We also did an SSO integration with you guys that I believe we were the first vendor to make that happen with you, right?
Yeah, I think we were probably the first vendor to be fully aligned with our internal and ever-changing IS department's security requirements, and SSO was a huge part of that, and it was relatively seamless for us, and a lot of that's due to you guys, and despite some of the challenges on my side, you guys did an excellent job of that, so it was much appreciated.
Well, we appreciate that. Why was that so important to Nissan as a brand?
You know, I think the data security breaches are becoming ever more prevalent all the time right now. And so the risk and the reward of allowing people to be a little bit more laissez-faire with the policies, it just wasn't there anymore, right? It was an imbalance. And so while the requirements are so strict and it can be kind of difficult for some of our suppliers to come in and kind of meet us in the middle on the data requirements, the reward for that is the safety of the information of millions of customers' information that we're going to be housing within this data source. And so it's critical for us, it's critical for our dealers, and it's critical for their customers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've entered kind of that post-Fallout era where there have been really big brands in this industry that have had very serious data breaches and lawsuits. So it's definitely something that I'm sure is on OEM, dealer group, even dealership minds. David, from the INFINITI side of things, talk to us a little bit about the dashboard and reporting suite that we rolled out with you guys and why that was so important to your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the great thing about the data insights that you provided is what it did was it gave our retailers better tools to manage their courtesy vehicles. That's one of our biggest challenges is how do they utilize their fleet better? And then how do they meet our metrics? Because we have certain metrics that incentivize them to take those ICVs and to certify them to create throughput for them, which allows them an additional profit opportunity, and we incentivize them to do that. But we needed those tools that your team works so closely with us to put in place so they can track each VIN and make sure that it hits those metrics. Or it also saves us the time, too, of answering those questions. Well, where are they at in the process? Well, they can go in, they can see it for themselves. And not only the retailers, but the field can also see those, too. So they can help counsel with the retailers who aren't managing their fleet as effectively as they should be and say, hey, look, let's reconsider these vehicles and let's make sure that we're maximizing the incentives that INFINITI has out there for you.
Yeah, I think without data, we didn't have strategy, and that's what we were missing. So because there was this chaos of in feeds and out feeds, without that real data structure that you guys provided us, it was almost impossible for us to provide strategy and to get those second, third, fourth bites out of the apple that people have been saying today. So
yeah, it really is. Visibility, I mean, is basically a new concept. Like, you just didn't have visibility before in this data. Susan, I think that we're starting to touch a bit on dealership problems, field problems, all the data needs that we have out there. What do you think are some of the most common data mistakes that dealerships are making?
I think from my OEM perspective, our dealerships, like you said, they don't know what they don't know. And so if they don't have tools to manage their fleets effectively, then they can't hit any of the goals that we're asking them to do from an OEM perspective. So having a tool like Dealerware is going to give them that visibility up front of what is their utilization, what vehicles need to be moved, what vehicles have been sitting for too long, how can they manage their fleet more effectively and optimize that profitability from our perspective so that we can continue to grow their business and their income from their rental revenue streams. Having it all at their fingertips is going to be a game changer for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think we talked about this even a little bit yesterday about the importance of the dealership seeing the data that the OEM is seeing just at an enterprise level. I mean, you know, I think that until now, that visibility was not possible.
Absolutely.
And so you had two different data sources, and of course there's always arguments happening in between, right?
Right. And from an OEM perspective, because our program is a little bit further along with that, we are going to be setting allocations based on utilization and how are these dealerships using these fleets, because my dealers are always asking me, I need more cars, and I'm looking at the utilization at 50%, saying, you're not using the cars that you have. So there's definitely a gap that we need to fill, and I think having a dashboard that they can easily look at and manage to every day and understand the metrics that I'm looking at from as a program standpoint versus what they're looking at from an operator standpoint, and being able to bridge that gap is amazing.
And it's the data that you can trust too, right? Because we're going to put these policies and practices into place, and we're going to come out to the dealers and tell them, we believe in this data, we're going to enforce policy on this data, and if we ourselves don't have trust in it, it's impossible to do that.
Absolutely.
So we can't be empowered without it.
Yeah. Now, Vivek, you are not an OEM, but you do have a lot of history with large scale, massive scale, really, OEM telematics data. So tell us a little bit about some of the challenges that you find in delivering and aggregating that data.
Absolutely. I'll spend just a minute giving an intro about Motorq, because we don't quite have the name recognition as Nissan, INFINITI, and Toyota, at least not yet. So we are a connected vehicle intelligent software platform. So in essence, we're the easy button for a customer like Dealerware or a large fleet or other entities in that space to be able to access very easily through one integration data from their vehicles, focused on OEM native telematics equipped vehicles. So what does that mean in the real world? Let's say Dealerware wants to be able to power contract population, right? Or many of the operational, for example, the pickup and delivery, right? The location data, odometer data, fuel level data can inform a lot of those workflows. So that's, in a nutshell, what we do. And over the years, we've built relationships with the OEMs. We work now with 12 OEMs, and there's both the business side to that, which, frankly, one of the biggest challenges in the first couple of years was actually getting them to open the door. We got a lot of doors slammed in our faces in the first few years, but with the trust of some of our big customers, we're able to open that up. And fortunately now, because of the ecosystem that all of us have been able to create together, we are now able to come into new OEMs with some credibility there. The tech challenges, though, are significant as well. And so that's one of the things that we, like I said earlier, we want to be that easy button. So there are challenges with the data standardization. So each OEM is like talking its own language. French versus Japanese versus Swahili, and one's on a papyrus, one's like texted, and one's like dictated, right? And so we take all of those differences in data formats and data frequency and data access mechanisms, standardize that in one integration that our customers can leverage. So that's one of the main things. The second challenge is around monitoring all of these signals. So we process hundreds of millions of signals every day. So what about data quality, data volume, et cetera? And making sure we're able to do that without having to deal with a lot of false positives, right? So doing that with a high rate of catching the real issues and being able to work that through the pipeline to notify our OEM partners, notify our customers when something goes wrong. And the last thing is really, generating really meaningful insights on top of that data. That with all of these different characteristics, being able to create, for example, something meaningful like a trip going from point A to point B, We're now on our 29th version of Trip Logic to handle all of these crazy signals or a driver behavior score for a fleet. So how do we do this in a way that works well across this disparate data set? So that's been a challenge. Of course, we've kind of rounded that corner a couple of years ago. Now, of course, how do we then help our customers get to the next level of insights? Of course, a lot of it enabled through AI technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, for sure. Brad and David, this next question is really for both of you, because I think that your brands in particular have a lot of data integrations with us. So I'd love to give you the opportunity to talk about the impact those integrations have made on your program already and what you hope to see in the future.
Yeah, I know for the early onset for us as an OEM, and we're a little bit unique in that we usually go exclusive with our partnerships. We're exclusive with Dealerware on our rental side. And with that exclusivity came cost savings, right? And cost savings are fantastic from the OEM side. Like, I get the high five, you did it, man, you saved us some money. We eliminated a third-party data provider that was required for us to feed data into our old provider and then back out for incentive payments and for tracking purposes. We've been able to eliminate them altogether. So the cost savings we got, I'm excited about. The data clarity, the dealers are excited about. So there's no longer these issues of I can't figure out where my car is. I can't figure out how much money I should owe you. I can't validate my accounting versus yours. All that's been cleared up now because of the streamlined data foundation.
And if I remember correctly, it was like a six-figure savings.
It was a six-figure
consolidation,
savings.
right?
Yep, every single year, six-figure savings, and it was a huge reason. And it wasn't just the cost savings. Cost savings are fantastic, but if you can offset a cost by something that's bringing a huge benefit to your customer and our customer for the three of us or the dealers, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
If I can get cost savings and make their lives easier, that's a home run, and that's what we're looking for. I'm looking, I want to hit doubles, not singles, and that's what that was.
Yeah, great. David?
Yeah, really, two things I would think of most. And really, Brad hit on the first one. The cost savings was absolutely there for us. And part of that's because they have the tools. What we found for the retailers on their side, the longer they were leaving their cars in their ICV fleet, the more the cars would depreciate, and that's one of their biggest expenses. So putting these tools in place so that they can see that, and then they can utilize their tools to see, hey, when's the best time to bring this car out of ICV fleet based on what the market's saying so I can maximize my revenue opportunity, was a huge win for the retailers. The other thing that we've seen, and because of your tools, and I want to give a shout out to William, who works so closely with you guys in Dealerware to really bring these tools to life, is we've had more participation in the incentive. We call it the velocity bonus. So that's essentially the incentive that as long as they keep their vehicles in for a specific time period, and they are going to get a bonus on that. And what we've seen is it's a behavioral change. What we had is retailers were leaving the cars on average in fleet for over 9 months. Since the velocity bonus program and the tools that now are available, they're leaving it in for half the time, and they're making more money on their loaner vehicles. So like I said, it's really a cost savings, but it's also a great profit opportunity that the retailers are taking advantage of.
I think it's always in the peripheral, right? Like this avenue of the business for a lot of our dealer operators, it's always kind of a tertiary part of the business, right? And it's hard for us to get them to focus on this, even though there's some significant costs associated to it. But with the data, with these integrations that you guys have provided, we can expose it much quicker and much more strategically. And I think that's something that we're extremely thankful for.
Speed has definitely been key here. I mean, I definitely see with all of our OEM partners that we work with, being able to customize quickly and flexibly is such a game changer, right? It used to be like pulling teeth, having to build a custom report out of whatever variety of systems are housing all the data, right? That is now so much faster than it used to be. And it's getting you to insights and action and changes for your business faster than ever. Susan, you are also going through a data migration transition with us right now. What are some of the challenges that you would say, challenges and the benefits really, of data consolidation and automation?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a little bit envious because unlike you guys, we offer 4 different rental software platforms to our dealers. And so that becomes a big challenge. And looking at the new data dashboard that you guys are creating, I can see a very clear advantage to Dealerware in this perspective. But what we did is we also eliminated a vendor partner that was consolidating all of our data and then handing it to us. And we knew that our partners at Lexus, they were doing it in-house. They have a smaller dealer body. So it was a little bit easier for them to manage, but we recently eliminated that third party and now are taking all of that data in-house and trying to figure out how can we consolidate it from 4 different languages and making sure that everybody's on the same page with the metrics that are important to us and making sure that we can stand behind the calculations, you mentioned that earlier, to say this is how we're calculating utilization for our set of data. There are, of course, 3 or 4 different definitions to utilization, but as long as we're all on the same page, then that's going to, again, create a stronger program for us because we have that data integrity, and that's what we're going through right now. John on my team has been working on it literally for years because it doesn't move as fast as we want to. But it's been something that's been extremely important and valuable to us because we see the need to show our dealers the true utilization numbers, the true revenue numbers, the true, how they can maximize their operations and their profits. So having all of that data in one space is our ultimate goal, and it's been great to have Dealerware come through and say, hey, we've built these new tools, we can be flexible, tell us what you need, we'll import it directly to you how you want it, and we really appreciate that partnership, because it's not the same for the other providers.
Yeah, you clearly touched on something there because out of my peripheral, I could see a lot of nodding heads in the audience. I think it's just a very common challenge that we hear from not even just our OEM partners, but any partners, right? Data is just across tons of systems right now.
And us pulling out that third-party provider is also giving it more clarity of having that direct link to the data that's coming in and us receiving it, and we're not filtering it through someone. So that's been extremely valuable to us.
Yeah, awesome. Vivek, talk to us a bit about AI, right? We're talking about speed, flexibility. AI is obviously going to be our superpower in that. I mean, what has become easier? What's become harder? What's just new about the AI tools that are out there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I like to think about, or we like to think about using AI in 2 different frameworks. One is internally, and then one in our customer-facing products. Internally, we have lots of teams have already started leveraging this and getting significant value out of it. And for example, in our customer success team, a lot of our SOPs have been automated. We're also able to, for example, investigate issues quickly. So a ticket gets filed, within a few minutes there's already a diagnosis. Oftentimes it would take 30 minutes to actually figure out what's going on, looking at all these different tables. We've been careful about not doing full automation on the actual customer interaction side. I think there's definitely a human touch there, but we'll figure out where that balance is. Of course, product and engineering, we've been leveraging this just to iterate much more quickly. And also change the way we do work. And so to one of your questions, like what's become more difficult is, of course, all the requirements, the iteration, the design, the engineering work, all that's gone much faster, but it's also not just the same sequence. So instead, in fact, Eric and I were talking about this yesterday briefly. Instead of spending a few weeks or months coming up with a really nice requirement based on discussions, and then starting the product work, we're actually very quickly iterating. Sometimes even while we're talking to the customer to say, hey, does this make sense? What do you think of this? How would you use this? What pain point does this solve? And using that to come up with a much higher fidelity version 1 that we can get out to market much more quickly. So those are some of the changes in how we're leveraging it internally. In terms of externally, so you saw Dealerware is doing a lot, and that's also how we think about it. So there's the assistant side, and then there's the agent side. And one way we like to think about this is assistants help you do work, and agents essentially help do work for you, right? And so there's a big difference there. Assistance, of course, really critical. We've got that out in our portal. We work with a lot of our fleets. Not only are we a data layer with a lot of customers that have their own applications and workflows, some customers don't, particularly in the fleet space. So we serve them in that way, and so that's been really helpful to those customers. On the agent side, it's really about, hey, what happened? Changing it from that to what do I need to do? So there's a lot around the recommendation engines, which I see Dealerware is also doing as well, and actually automating some workflows. And I'll give you a simple example. Costs, of course, are increasing now, especially if you're running a fleet. Fuel costs have gone up significantly, right? And so that's top of mind for any fleet manager. For them, idling is a problem, among many other things. So how do they actually handle idling? Now imagine you have a 3,000 vehicle fleet. You're not going to call 100 drivers or text 100 drivers to say, hey, what's going on? Like, why are you idling excessively?
Yeah.
But there's an example of a simple agentic workflow where actually the driver can be texted and they can have a conversation with an agent to understand maybe this was a valid reason, right? And so those 100 exceptions now become actually 10 that you actually have to manage.
Yeah.
Right? And so these are some examples of how agents give a lot more leverage to fleet managers, allowing them to do a much better job than ultimately being able to control the objective function, in this case, cost.
I mean, you live and breathe this every single day. To my OEMs on the stage, this is not what you do every day. But I know OEMs are talking about it, and it's either scary or meaningful, impactful. Something is coming out. Those conversations are happening. How do you feel personally about how AI is going to impact OEM programs?
I think after Steve Greenfield presented, I was terrified. And then Mr. Benstock got up there, and then I was fired up again. And then I got confused when Mr. Reynolds came up, because he's kind of in the middle, and I don't know where to go. I think we're all excited about it, because I think if you're willing to look on the positive side, Vivek's talking about some of the agent work they can do, right? We're seeing it with the Dealerware signal. I can't imagine how much load that's going to take off the field team to be able to go straight to the source and say, what am I doing wrong? Why am I getting this result? And just have that immediate response, right? People don't use those chat functions in the years past because it always just said the same thing, like click the FAQs. That doesn't help any of us. I didn't want the FAQs. I would have gone there in the first place. But using these new AI agents, you're getting actual responses now. That excites us because it makes us more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, Brad, I think you nailed it. We've spent a lot of time training our retailers, training the field. We have an upcoming field training just coming up later next week. And so to Brad's point, I think it's going to make us more efficient, because we're still going to have the training, but if they can get answers in real time to what they need and get the data, because it looks like there's analysis tools to it too, get some of the data that they need, that's just going to speed up time for them. It's going to make us more efficient, so we can also understand the data on what they have and continue to evolve and develop the program with you guys.
I'm looking at it from more of an headquarters, sometimes a big OEM headquarters, we move very slow with things. It's because we have a very long list of things to do. How can we empower ourselves using AI to take away some of that more task level work so that we can more strategize and think about what can we do from a big picture perspective to help our dealers succeed, instead of me getting stuck in having to update rental agreements with legal and doing all that? How can I get an agent to take some of that busy work away so that I can strategize on really what's best for my dealer body and to bring them new ideas and new strategies to succeed?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would love to give everyone the opportunity at this point to kind of wrap up, I think, the things that matter to you most in this conversation. And really what everyone wants to know is, if we get this right as an industry, what does enterprise data really look like in 2 to 3 years?
I'll answer that for us. It's simple truth. This is the data, we trust it. It's building the foundation of our program. It dictates how we're going to operate moving forward. It can help dealers be more successful with their rental programs in our perspective. It just lays that foundation of very strong bedrock of what they're doing every day and how they can be more successful in their operations. And like you said before, it's something that we can just always trust and know that it's accurate. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah. Others, thoughts?
Yeah, I think, very self-aware. I'm dead middle management at Nissan, right? It's opportunity for me. It's opportunity for me to influence those above me. It's opportunity to take it and spread it to the universe of dealers that I have. And some of these opportunities, like the fleet equity tool that you're showing, huge opportunity for us, right? Because there's profit in dollars tied to that, where we can help influence behavior in a positive light. I'm not saying that it's going to be the perfect answer for every dealer and it's always going to work for them. But right now, they don't have any tools besides going through and piecemealing together all those different vendors that they're paying out to go figure out, I put this car in, it was worth this much, now it's worth this much. Did I write it down? Did I not write it down? What's the position of this car? Is my used car manager going to be able to sell it? All of those avenues really can be solved by data clarity, right? And like I said before, we didn't have data, so we didn't have strategy. Now we've got both, and I think that's the huge opportunity, is that the ability to influence both sides.
Yeah, that life cycle has been so fragmented up until now, and especially at the OEM level, what I love is that retailers now have very siloed teams, right? Everyone's looking at their reports and nothing's talking to each other to like really capture the full vehicle life cycle across the dealership. And I think OEMs obviously are much more strategic and cognizant of that. So I think that kind of data is gonna really transform the dealership landscape, but really give you guys insights into your business.
We see moments in time, across every OEM here, every group here, where people take the opportunity to jump over dollars to pick up pennies, right? Because it's easy. I see the penny, it's shiny, I'm going to pick that one up. We're going to help these stores, and we're going to help our partners stop jumping over those dollars and realize where those dollars are. It's up to them to bend over and pick it up, but we're going to show them where those dollars are.
Yeah. So David, 2 to 3 years from now, we're in the data dream world. What is enterprise data doing that just gets you passionate?
Well, I'm excited. I think you guys have really done a great job of touching on it. I think it's really two things. I think it's going to help us become more strategic with the data and the retailers. With INFINITI, a lot of retailers, and then also even at HQ, we're a very small team, small but mighty. So to give you an example, I'm managing both CPO, our Certified Pre-Owned program, and our loaner program.
So you definitely care about this.
I do. We wear a lot of hats. But like you mentioned earlier, having this data and being able to utilize it, I think it can give the retailers actionable insights, right? Because there's a lot of things that we share with them in terms of best practices and how to account for all the incentives and the dollars we're giving them. And a lot of times that part isn't executed the way that we would like them to see. So they come back to us and say, well, hey, I'm not making money on that program. But then it's like, well, wait a minute. Did you utilize all the funds, everything that we gave to you to be successful with the program? And a lot of times the answer is no. So I think if we can, the way I see it, and this is where I see us going, is we're going to continue to better this program, and we're going to give the retailers even more calls to action so that they can look at the data and say, okay, I'm not where I want to be. Here's the best. Here's the standard, kind of like what Brian was saying earlier, Benstock, and how do I become like him, right? What do I need to do to get there? And so I think all that data is going to be there, and we just need to have that data to transfer from just data to call to action. We're already getting there, and I think there's a lot more exciting things to come with you guys in the next 2-3 years.
So what I'm hearing is that somebody needs to productize the Benstock AI agent, I'm thinking.
Exactly.
Vivek, I mean, 2 to 3 years from now, what does enterprise data look like at Motorq?
Yeah, so I think what Dealerware shared earlier today is really, you're visualizing it right, which is combine all these different data sets that are related but not exactly the same. So, the insurance plate with Axle, right? The data that needs to go from the vehicle to hop drive to be able to streamline that process and bringing it together to solve very clear sets of problems and value creation opportunities with customers. So like the silo data is that's going to be resolved a lot. That's like the future of enterprise data, is bringing it all together and getting to the next level of insights. But going even beyond that, what that actually allows you to do is then create new data sets to be even more effective. And so let's say you come up with a recommendation engine for something. And I'll kind of come back to the fleet space because that's something that we've got some experience with, kind of owning that end user experience. But let's say there's a recommendation to fix a particular problem on a vehicle, and it's actually dismissed for a reason, right, by the individual. And they'll say, hey, it's not valid because of so-and-so, or it's idling is fine because it's actually 20 degrees outside, or something like that. And so because of that, you actually can use that, so you log all those actions and use that to be able to create the next level of intelligence of what's valid, what's not, improve that model, improve the outcomes, without even having to, actually, it essentially creates new data sets to be able to take things to the next level. And so that's where I see enterprise data going.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, any final thoughts here? Thank you guys so much for your perspectives, of course.
Yeah, I think that's our final thought, is thank you guys, right? This has been a partnership from the beginning, and it really has felt that way. I know Matt said it a few times early in today that they want to be the company that says yes, and that's what David and I are constantly telling our management team. They say yes. We have ideas, we have strategies, we have thoughts. Our field team comes to us with ideas. Dealerware says yes, and I think that's been the reassuring, the feeling that we've got of making the decision to go exclusive, is that you guys say yes, and we're excited that that you guys are excited about our ideas. Even if they're not great sometimes, you still say yes.
Hey, anytime. You've got the bat phone right to my cell. I pick up in the airport for you. So, all right. Well, thank you guys so much for being up here today. David, did you?
I just want to say one last thing,
too?
just to kind of piggyback on what he said.
Yeah,
your team is just so responsive. There's times where we need something, we need it urgently, and they always deliver. So really, what Brad's saying is they're working with us on our overall strategy. They're always willing to intake those new ideas, but your responsiveness, the support that you give, it's just unparalleled. We've had other partners in the past, and like I said, we definitely feel like we are with a great and even better partner. We feel like we got an upgrade, so thank you.
Of course, and I mean, we appreciate everyone's partnership here today and on stage. I mean, this is why we do what we do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.